Before I start tonight, I want you to do something for me. Make sure you're somewhere comfortable, because once I begin these stories, you're going to start looking over your shoulder, and I promise you, you won't be able to stop listening until the very end. My name is Midnight Dread, and tonight I have 3 real horror stories that are going to stay with you long after this video ends.
I want to start by saying I'm not someone who scares easily. I've lived alone for 3 years and never once felt unsafe. Until the night I noticed someone had been watching me for weeks without me knowing. This happened about a year ago when I was living in a small apartment on the 2nd floor. My bedroom window faced the parking lot, and I never bothered closing the blinds because I figured nobody could really see in from that angle. I started noticing small things first. My neighbor's dog would bark every night around 2 a.m. Not the kind of bark that stops after a minute. The kind that goes on and on like the dog is genuinely terrified of something outside. I didn't think much of it at first. Then one night, I woke up at exactly 2 a.m. to the dog barking again. I was annoyed, so I got up to close my window. That's when I saw him. Standing completely still in the parking lot below, a man just staring up at my window. He wasn't moving. He wasn't on his phone. He was just standing there in the dark, face pointed directly at me. I froze. I told myself maybe he was just a neighbor. Maybe he was locked out. I stepped back from the window slowly so he couldn't see me and waited 5 minutes before looking again. He was still there. Same spot, same position. I called the non-emergency police line. They said they'd send someone to check. By the time an officer arrived 20 minutes later, the man was gone. The officer said there was nothing they could do. The next morning, I checked my building's exterior security camera footage. I had access because I helped my landlord set it up. The footage showed the man standing in that same spot every single night for the past 3 weeks. Always at 2 a.m., always staring at my window. But the part that made me feel sick, the part I still think about, is that on the footage from the very first night, you could clearly see my bedroom light was on. My silhouette was visible through the blinds. He wasn't watching my window randomly. He was watching me. I moved out the following week. I never found out who he was. But sometimes when I'm in a new place and everything feels safe, I find myself wondering if I've just stopped noticing. I almost didn't get in the car. Something felt off the moment I saw him, and by the time I realized how right I was, we were already miles from the city with no one around. It was a Friday night, around midnight. I'd been at a friend's birthday party and I was exhausted. I ordered an Uber and waited outside. The car pulled up, I checked the app, the license plate matched, I got in. The driver didn't say a word, no, "Hey, how's your night?" Nothing. Some drivers are quiet, so I didn't stress it. I put my earbuds in and watched the route on my phone. After about 5 minutes, I noticed something. We were heading away from my apartment. Not a slightly different route, completely the opposite direction. I took out my earbuds. "Hey, I think you might be going the wrong way. My place is back toward downtown." He said nothing. I leaned forward. "Excuse me, sir?" He looked at me in the rearview mirror. His eyes were completely calm. That's what scared me. Not anger, not nervousness, just calm. "Shortcut," he said. Then looked back at the road. My heart started pounding. We were on a dark road now. No street lights, no other cars. I quietly opened my Uber app to report the route deviation. And that's when I noticed it. The driver's profile photo didn't match the man in the front seat. Same car, same plates, different man. I did the only thing I could think of. I called my friend loudly and said, "Hey, I'm in an Uber right now, heading down Route 9 toward the old warehouse district. Just wanted to let you know where I am." I made sure the driver heard every word. The car slowed down. Then, without a word, he made a U-turn and drove me straight back to my apartment. Didn't say a single thing the entire ride. When I got out, he drove away immediately. I reported it to Uber. They said the account had been hacked and the real driver reported his car stolen that same night. The police were never able to identify who was driving. I don't take rideshares alone at night anymore, and I tell everyone I know, always check the photo. Always. When we bought our house, the listing said 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. So when we knocked down a wall during renovation and found an entire hidden room, we should have just sealed it back up. We didn't. My wife and I bought our house in 2021. Older home built in the 1940s, lots of character. We knew it needed work, so we hired a contractor to help us renovate the basement. On the 3rd day of demo, the contractor called me downstairs. He'd knocked through a section of drywall and found that behind it was a brick wall. That alone wasn't weird. Old homes get modified all the time. What was weird was that the brick wall had a door, a real wooden door, painted over multiple times, nearly invisible against the brick. The contractor looked at me. I looked at him. We both stood there for a second. We opened it. Inside was a small room, maybe 8 by 10 feet. No windows, no vents. It wasn't on any blueprint. We checked every version of the house plans we had. The room was completely empty except for 3 things. A wooden chair sitting in the center of the room facing the door, a small calendar on the wall from 1987, and scratch marks on the inside of the door. Dozens of them, like someone had been keeping track of days. My wife wanted to call someone, she wasn't sure who. The police? A historian? We didn't even know what we were looking at. I took photos and started researching the home's history. What I found didn't make me feel better. Between 1983 and 1989, the house had been owned by a man who was later convicted of kidnapping. The records were sealed because the case involved a minor. I couldn't find anything more specific than that. We sealed the room back up, poured concrete over the door. My wife and I never really talked about what those scratch marks meant. I think we both know. We just can't bring ourselves to say it out loud. We still live in the house, but neither of us goes into the basement alone.
And that is why they sealed the room. Some things are better left buried, better left unknown. But here's what I keep thinking about. These stories didn't happen in movies. They didn't happen to fictional characters. They happened to real people, in real homes, on real streets, in real Ubers. People who woke up one morning thinking they were completely safe. They weren't. So tonight, before you go to sleep, lock your doors, close your blinds, and maybe, just maybe, pay attention to the things you've been ignoring. Because sometimes the scariest thing isn't what's in the dark. It's what's been there the whole time, and you never noticed. If something terrifying has happened to you, something you can't explain, something that still keeps you up at night, send it to me. Your story could be featured in my next video. My email is in the description below. And if these stories got under your skin, hit subscribe. Every week, I bring you true horror stories that will make you question everything around you. I'm Midnight Dread. Sleep well, if you can.